fired for their comments on his death, among them MSNBC political analyst Matthew Dowd. Laws vary across states, but overall there's very little legal protections for employees who are punished for speech made both in and out of private workplaces. Most of the U.S. defaults to at-will employment law, which essentially means employers can choose to hire and fire as they see fit, including over employees' speech. And employment lawyers say while there are pockets of protection around the U.S. under various state laws, the First Amendment does not apply in private workplaces to protect employees' speech. I'm Julie Walker.
In other news, the Trump administration yesterday renewed its request for a federal appeals court to allow the president to fire Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. On Saturday, Cook's lawyers argued in a filing that the Trump administration has not shown sufficient cause to fire her. Meanwhile, global shares were trading mixed today as markets looked ahead to a possible move by the Federal Reserve later this week to cut interest rates. And in London, the Windsor Castle is preparing for Trump's second state visit this week. The goal is to strengthen ties with Trump, whose policies have disrupted traditional trade and security relationships. This is AP News. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports Qatar officials are holding wider talks over the Israeli attack on Hamas in Doha, seeking to restrain such assaults.
Qatar's hosting a summit over Israel's attack on Hamas leaders in Doha last week, hoping a group of Arab and Islamic nations will offer a way to restrain Israel as its war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip grinds on. Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani, Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, told a meeting on Sunday it's time for the international community to stop applying double standards and punish Israel for all the crimes it has committed. However, it remains unclear just what the summit will be able to achieve, given some nations already have diplomatic recognition deals with Israel and may be reluctant to sever ties. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
More information at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. Plentiful sunshine in store for today with warm high temperatures in the mid-80s. Then for tonight, mostly clear, a low of 62. Tuesday, still well above average, a high of 84 degrees with lots of sunshine. Wednesday, ample amounts of sun will work up to a high of 86, and still no cool downs for your Thursday, high of 87 degrees. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 66.
Save big on everything for your next project when you shop at Menards. Dutch Boys Durafighter is an interior paint and primer in one with a tough-lasting formula. It provides great scrub resistance and durability with remarkable hide and a smooth finish. Save big on Dutch Boys Durafighter paint at Menards and start your next project today. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives. Chins up and shoulders back. It's time to fight every single day. Got to stay in the fight. Got to stay focused. Got to stay in the fight because different things come at us at different times, and we may have to make adjustments in what we have to do, but we stay in the fight. Welcome to the September 15th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is the number. Is that good, Devin? Perfect. All right, find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, heartlandsignal.com is where you can check us out, and YouTube. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, Substack, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Threads. We have stuff over there that you can check out. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other great shows and interviews. Make your way to our heartlandsignal.com website. And right now over at Heartland, a bunch of great articles and posts, some from the end of last week and a little bit from over the weekend. But from the Heartland, Wisconsin representatives that are blaming the media and just keeping the fire up in terms of the murder of Charlie Kirk. You'll find some great pieces there, and a little bit on healthcare that you might want to lean into, where some of our Democratic leaders, state leaders, are doing their part to talk about why we can't blame undocumented immigrants for a failing health system. So make your way over to heartlandsignal.com to check out our articles and our posts that we have there. And I may have some commentary on one or two later this week in the next couple of days. On today's show, we will have our good friend with us, Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA, looking to talk about a little bit of everything. And also, we will have University of Chicago professor Susan Stokes, who's the author of the book Backsliders. And I'm really looking forward to talking with her in the 7:30 hour. So Sarah will be with us in the 7 o'clock hour, and Professor Stokes will be with us in the 7:30 hour. So looking forward to chatting with both of these wonderful folks. But right now, check this out, progressives.
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half-staff calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who were mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home, tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. I am sorry, but there's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil. And how you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life. I can abhor the violence that took your life, but I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live. I am overwhelmed.
That is Pastor Howard John Wesley in D.C. And I will tell you, I debated with myself about playing that clip. It's a very, very powerful message. And I have another clip that I'm going to, I think, Devin, we can squeeze this one in. Leave black people alone. Let's go for it.
So, white people, let's talk. I learned that yesterday a number of HBCUs in the South, the Southeast, and the East Coast had to shut down due to threats of violence against them. Apparently, this was related to the violence that happened on Wednesday in Utah. And so I'm left wondering once again why violence that occurred in a completely different state that had absolutely nothing to do with anyone from the black community is now resulting in threats once again towards the black community. So, white people, as we deal with all these issues of gun violence that are plaguing our communities, perhaps we could just leave black people the hell alone. I hope this helps.
So 2 clips that speak to what, was kind of on my heart this weekend in some ways. But what the pastor said is incredibly important. And I said last week that I would try to minimize Devin talking about Charlie Kirk this week, if not at all. And I guess that's why I used the word try. Because, listen, I think I used the word lionize and prop up. We have to understand that the life that you live does not get redeemed, by the manner in which you die. And the pastor's right about that. Not when this person was an agent of evil. And what's shameful now, and I'm going to touch a third rail because it needs to be touched. Because if we are going to push toward having some calm around this and the other people who've been leaning in, the folks from Fox News, the folks from the White House, the GOP at large, and other people that are commenting, then we've got to lean into it the right way. And we have to be prepared to push back. And the reason that I played this clip is because I know that you guys are going to come across the Pastor Wesley clip, and I can send it to you. It's all over the internet now, just FYI. I can send it to you, but the reason I played this clip is that I want you to be as prepared. I'm not going to use a word that I've used in the past, but I want you to be as prepared as possible for when you come across or someone crosses your path wanting to continue to lionize Charlie Kirk. And I also, when I say touch the third rail, this is what I mean. Last week, I was one of the first people to say, I was one of the people saying that this is awful for his children. As we all know, other children lost their lives. This is awful for their family. We talked about other families having lost loved ones with school shootings. And I even said that under the respect that we all try to give to a spouse when they lose a spouse, where I stood there in terms of his wife. But I will say this unapologetically, out of respect to the others who have who've lost someone and have remained and kept their dignity in the process. They did not come after other people. They did not decide to turn the ire of their name and popularity on other folks. If anything, they were humble and recognized that would only make the situation worse for all. And what I mean by that is when I say touching the third rail, I unapologetically say this because it needs to be said as a tool to tone down how we deal with this situation, because it's still out there. As much as I don't want to talk about it, and I will minimize talking about it as much as I can. What am I saying? Charlie Kirk's wife, she lost the window of sympathy by threatening the they with the further vitriol and fear. Full stop. She did. She made a decision. She's an adult. And believe me, I carefully present my words. She made an adult decision to decide to keep pushing fear and vitriol towards people that had nothing to do with the situation. And that's why I played the clip about leave black people alone. Because the they isn't just, it's broadly the left, if you will, or progressives or Democrats, as you can hear from so many elected Republican officials. But the they that I want to be cautious of and remind people of are folks of color, black people and other people of color. And she made an adult decision to reference the they and whoever in her mind they are, that sympathy, that we try to give a widow or spouse, widow or widower. She lost that window. And I think that the irresponsibility of what she said It has to be noted, just like what Pastor Wesley is saying in terms of Charlie Kirk's life. And so it's irresponsible for us to not call that out or call out any of the behavior of any group or entity in honoring a self-proclaimed, by action, racist, sexist, misogynist person. I think it's irresponsible for organizations to do it. There are companies that are now, if people speak their mind, Matthew Dowd lost his job at MSNBC. Meanwhile, others are saying things that's not happening to them. People in employment, in regular jobs, these things are happening. So we have to be willing to call out the hate and the evil and the bad as part of our work. It's hard, but in this moment, we cannot lose our voice. And by being quiet about it, we lose our voice. By being quiet about it, we don't speak our truth. And so I say that carefully for everyone, but at the same time, we speak out about it and we talk about it. And I know we got to hit this break, which we'll do. So let's go to this quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the heart of World War II, while the skies rumbled with the roar of combat, a groundbreaking squad of pilots emerged from the segregated South. The Tuskegee Airmen, an elite group of African-American pilots, defied the odds with their courage and skills. Trained at the Tuskegee Army Airfields in Alabama, they became the first black aviators in the U.S. military. Despite facing racism and skepticism, they soared through the skies with unmatched precision, escorting bombers and earning a distinguished reputation for their bravery. Their red-tailed P-51 Mustangs became a symbol of excellence and resilience, and in 2007, the Tuskegee Airmen were finally honored as they were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. These aviators didn't just fight for victory in the air, they battled for equality on the ground, forever altering the landscape of the American military and inspiring generations to come. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chu.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple.
Hey guys, we're back. I stepped on the cord. It happens every now and again. So as when we went to break, I talked about the behavior of those who are still trying to, quote unquote, lionize and prop up a racist, sexist, misogynistic, hateful person. And, I'm not having, listen, he is deceased. He was not assassinated. He was murdered. He's not a political figure in the sense that he was elected to office. So that misuse of words, a lot of people are using it. So we understand that sometimes we say the wrong word, but we're making a description or presenting a thought process. But he was murdered. But the entities that are keeping his name up as a beacon of something positive and of good are wrong in doing that. Now, I'm talking about it this morning, and I said I would minimize my talk about it as time goes by. But I have to push back on what I see entities and groups saying and doing, whether it be businesses that are, laying off people or firing people because of commentary, whatever it is. And one of our most known entities, obviously, are those who are elected officials that are on the right, that are still trying to play this game of him being this, beacon of something. No, he was exactly who he presented himself on hundreds of videos and clips that people can. I saw a number of people who posted montages of the things that he said about a variety of different people. Okay. And, I have been a critic of the NFL for a while, but most certainly when we go back, and I'm going to thank my man Kurt Mullet for posting this, but I'm also going to make my references and points about it. Let us not forget, and sometimes people do, a black quarterback was blacklisted from the NFL, from all NFL teams in 2016 for doing what? Taking a knee to protest police brutality. Y'all remember that? The name? Colin Kaepernick. You remember how Colin Kaepernick was blacklisted by the NFL, the entire league, the teams and the structure, the system, because he wanted to make sure that police brutality was addressed, talked about, not stuffed under the rug. Okay, and since then, the number of black men, particularly that have been at the bad end of police brutality, have actually increased. And now we've got ICE in communities snatching folks out of their cars and out of their places of business and all the rest. But the NFL decided they were going to punish this young man by not letting him have any purview in the National Football League for taking a knee in terms of doing something positive. And this is where I have a problem with the NFL, and I'm going to say it broadly. It's a broad stroke. But specifically, if there is you guys see this 9 years later, the NFL, there are some NFL teams that are having a moment of silence for a racist, sexist, misogynistic, hate-filled person. That is absolutely disgusting, y'all. I thought it was a one-off, but no. A few other teams. For me, why I'm offended by that, I'm offended by it because as a citizen of the United States, to honor or have moments of silence for someone who had such disgust for a lot of the people who were in the stands of these football games. I mean, this is the same guy that said that if his daughter were sexually assaulted and became pregnant, he would force her to term. So for the women who are in that stadium, that to me is one of the most horrible things that you would ever want to have your have a person representing that sort of thinking. And so that is another reason why I'm not even disappointed, because disappointment would mean I had an expectation. I'm just PO'd that the NFL would even think, or any team would think about that. It tells me who that team's ownership and leadership, what they're really all about. And it definitely just reminds me that Colin Kaepernick was on the right side. Not that I haven't had any question. He was on the right side about what he did and how he did it. Because now we have the NFL essentially endorsing a racist, sexist, misogynistic person. That, to me, just think about that for a moment. A massive business entity publicly said, we're endorsing this person. We're going to have moments of silence in honor of this bigoted, racist homophobe. So the question is, as Kurt Mullet from Hoosier Blue 63 asked, do you know what the common denominator is? So I'm not disappointed in the NFL, and I'm really not surprised, or teams that have decided to. I'm not sure how many calls Roger Goodell's office has received in the last, day or two. However, these are conversations that it'll be interesting to see if they make it public that this is unacceptable through the NFL and the owners. I don't know, but I'm putting it out there. So where am I going with this, and why am I pointing this out? We need to be prepared to talk and push back if someone says or tries to lionize and give this man a better shine than he actually lived, as the pastor said. That's my belief, at least. That's my feeling. That's how I see it. So we need to be prepared for that. We need to make sure that we are ready to have that conversation to let people know, no. Because if the NFL is going to have moments of silence, then we need to be ready to have moments of loudness. Don't get pushed into a corner with this one, guys, is part of what I'm trying to say. Don't let people bully you on this conversation around Charlie Kirk. Don't let people bully you. Mm-mm. You know, if you're talking to somebody and they say something about him and how whatever he was, be prepared to come back with, did you know that he said this? Did you know that he said that? Don't give any space. Don't silence your voice on this, because that is how, once again, we give territory, we give space, we give power, and I'm not willing to do it. So let's grab a quick call before we hit this first break, Devin, or this next break, Devin. Rick, good morning. Welcome from Florida.
Good morning, Richard. Florida man Rick here checking in.
What's going on?
Everybody in Chicago. All right, here's the thing. First off, Richard, when I see a flag at half-staff at any business, you ain't seeing me in there no more. I know what you're all about. Second, you're not going to put it at half-staff when they attack a school, but you'll do it for this racist.
Yeah.
The second thing is this. You're right about safety. We had spoken privately about, or you had messaged me about, being careful. And we do need, because this is going to a fever pitch now. We are being threatened. Imagine this. Us as liberals, as progressives, we tried to save Charlie Kirk's life, getting these high-powered rifles out of the hands of people that are mentally ill. And they're still changing the narrative because they're looking for a reason to attack us. So our conscience is clean. I'm speaking to my fellow, and I'm glad you are playing the clips that you are, because it still does need to be addressed, because they're trying to put a guilt trip on us.
Yeah.
And
Rick, if I can just dive in with you, that right there, I hadn't even thought about it that way, but that's a good assessment. They're trying to put a guilt trip on a lot of people with how it's being handled. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And it's okay. This is part of their playbook. We've known this for years. They know what they're doing. They project what they're doing onto us, which is their hate.
Yeah.
We are the ones with love. Me, I'm a little bit crabby at sometimes, you know that, but I can't help it.
Listen, man, we all get a little crabby Appleton every now and again. I get that.
Every now and again. So let me address one last thing to my fellow progressives out there. We tried to do what's right. We tried to limit this gun violence. They fight us every step of the way. If you could play that quote, Richard, I think this is a request. Obviously, I'm not trying to tell you how to run your show, but that clip in his own words where he said, so many amount of people, it's a sacrifice. They need to die to uphold our biblical values. This is what you guys wanted, Republicans, not us.
Yeah.
So there you go. And I've said my piece. My therapist says it'll make me feel a little better, and actually does. So thank you for that.
All right, man.
And thank you, Chicago, for listening.
Be safe out there, okay? Please be safe, all right?
I will.
Talk to you soon.
You know it, brother. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The guilt piece for sure. I'm not going to play the clip. I know Rick was asking for that. I'm not going to play it because I won't play any of that craziness. But I know what he's saying. It's out there. You guys can find it on your own. But thanks for the call, Rick. Be safe out there. We're going to take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM in Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. Plentiful sunshine in store for today with warm high temperatures in the mid-80s. Then for tonight, mostly clear, a low of 62. Tuesday still well above average, a high of 84 degrees with lots of sunshine. Wednesday, ample amounts of sun will work up to a high of 86, and still no cool downs for your Thursday, high of 87 degrees. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 66.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Today, live, local, and progressive Joan Esposito will be talking to infectious disease specialist Dr. Stockton Mayer of the UIC Department of Medicine, Susan Demas, executive editor of the Lincoln Square Substack newsletter. Carol Fiddler, state politics expert and communications director for the Democratic Attorneys General Association. And Northlight Theater artistic director B.J. Jones. Northlight's new production, The First Lady of Television, is playing through October 12th at the North Shore Center for the Performing Arts. Live, local, and progressive, weekdays 2 to 5, Central WCPT, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. This week on Driving It Home, Dwayne Kennedy, Elliot Serrano, and WCPT's Paul Shivari will be in for Vacationing Patty Vasquez. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, of course, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow, Rosie Huggins of the American Cancer Society and Kristen Krall, Executive Director of Fair Share America, will be with me. And Wednesday, we'll be joined in studio by retired Army Major Randy Manor, which I'm looking forward to. He's a former acting vice chair of the National Guard Bureau. And, of course, Kurt Mellett will be with us, and Lita McCauley Seletsky on Wednesday. So make sure you're plugging into all of our shows here on WCPT, and, of course, our partner group of airing our show down in North Carolina, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM. Let's grab a quick call. Let's go to our man Kurt from Akron, Ohio. Good morning, Kurt. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. And boy, do I want to be nasty this morning.
Yeah, I know, man. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you and I have had a conversation somewhat offline, and we can get together on that later. But you know what the best thing would be for the Democrats to do?
What's that?
Take that expired James Brady bill, which is also written and passed to remember a Republican who got shot by another Republican, John Hinckley.
Yep.
And, you know, use that bill and strengthen it from what it was 30 years ago and call it the Charlie Kirk gun control bill.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sure enough.
That's what the Democrats should be doing.
Like Rick said, who called in a moment ago, he said that we tried to I like the way Rick put that. He said we've tried for a long time to protect people like Charlie Kirk by having sensible gun legislation and even more to put more, I guess you could say, strength behind that kind of legislation. And they fought us on it. So that's a great point, Kurt. That's a great observation.
And put Kirk's name on it. Just put his name on it and every one of those Republicans in Congress to get on the record of voting no for it, because then they're not honoring the life of Charlie Kirk, and that just shows who they truly are. And then the other thing I want to ask is this: his funeral's this weekend, correct? Coming up.
I believe so. I believe me, honestly, I haven't paid attention, so I don't even know. I don't know.
Okay. Well, my thing is, how much of his funeral is going to be whitewashed, no pun intended, to where they don't quote any of the things that he said in life just because they know that it's nasty and they don't want that stuff getting out?
That's right. I mean, I've disconnected from the sympathetic part of this anymore because of how vile what his wife did.
And I don't know what Erica Kirk said. I saw something, but I didn't watch it because I was like, I don't want to see this.
Yeah, but I like what you said. I like what Rick said about the whole idea around. We've been trying for a long time to help prevent these things from happening to anybody. The children in the schools. The list goes on. And they fought us every step of the way. And I believe you were right that if the bill were even in his name, a reintroduction of the bill that Democrats presented, that it would get voted down. I could be wrong, but I would agree with you in that space.
Exactly. And then one thing that Rick might like is I have a neighbor who has had his flag at half-staff since the day after the election.
Wow.
All right. And he didn't put it upside down, which I was surprised he didn't, but he kept it at half-staff since the day after the election.
Yeah.
Ever since Trump ordered all flags at half-staff for Charlie Kirk,
he raised it back up.
My neighbor put it back up, and then he's putting it back down after the time period's over.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty plugged-in neighbor. So
yeah, and that's more than I would have done, to be honest with you.
I hear you, man. Thanks for the call as always.
Yeah, you too. I'll talk to you offline about that thing we were talking about later.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, Kurt.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep. All right, let's see. Let's take another call, Devin. Let's go to Donna in Rogers Park. Hey, Donna, good morning. Good. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. You know, I am really upset about this whole situation. It's really got me really peed off because when I think about how all this started from the very beginning, Donald John Trump was the initiator of all this hatred and vitriol from day one, back during the Obama period, where he started off with nothing but hatred, lies, misrepresentation, falsifications, everything. And when that man was leaving the White House on January 6th, 2021, this man, everybody was asking him, call out the National Guard. Now, he called out the National Guard to D.C. for nothing going on around there. But when something was going on, they were tearing up the Capitol, beating up the Capitol Police. He refused to call the National Guards out. In fact, Nancy Pelosi, everybody was on his case. Call the National Guards because the people were threatened. And do you think he cared about it? No. He sat there and watched on TV everybody get beat up. So I'm saying, look, he doesn't care about anybody. It's all about himself and his whole cabinet.
Yeah.
It's unqualified, and they're motivated by hate. Now, these Christian evangelical right people, they got a lot of nerve referring to the Bible and Jesus when their whole thing is motivated by hatred and anger. Now, Jesus would not approve of this, but that's typical with the Klan, the Proud Boys, and all these negative hatred groups. They use the Bible and Jesus as their shield to try to recruit people on a positive level. But when we all know Jesus was not about any of that. And I'm saying if we're ever going to come together, the Dems have set the example for everybody, but we get blamed for everything when actually we're the party of trying to bridge things and bring the country together. Now they all talking about, well, look, we got to tamp this thing down and come together. Come together.
Yeah.
They're not trying to bring people together. They're trying to divisively keep us apart. And right now, our country is going down the tubes, spiraling down.
Donna, you're spot on with some of your points. I mean, I got a text while you were talking. Someone said that one of the let us not forget that one of the first things that Donald Trump did when he got into office, in his first term, was to sign legislation that restored ownership rights to mentally ill persons. And so,
there you go.
Like Rick from Florida.
That's another confirmation right there. That's another confirmation right there.
There it is. Donna, thank you for your call.
All I'm saying, Richard, is the only thing that we have to do right now, we have to keep level heads.
Yeah.
Keep our calm, because I have to say, some of these days when I wake up, man, I don't want to say you got to hold me back, but I know it has to be done. I know it has to be done. We have to, cooler heads have to prevail.
Absolutely. Donna, thank you for reminding us of that. You have a great day today and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye now. Yeah, I mean, I will be totally transparent with you guys. I sort of struggled with if I wanted to play those two clips early in the show. Devin knows this. I said it when we sat down in the studio, and I thought about it yesterday. But I wanted to play them to make the point that this is not this vitriol, this negative energy, this disconnection, to Donna's point about separating us, isn't coming from Democrats on any level. Here in Chicago, whatever city you're in, and on a state or federal level for whatever state that you're in, and then observing what happens on a federal level. It's not coming from us. As this, I'm going to wreck this line from the movie, the phone call is coming from inside the House. It's coming literally from inside the House. Many of the members of the House of Representatives and on the right, and the Senate, and state representatives. Donna's point is well taken. They are raising the temperature. We have to keep it down. But one of the things that keeping it down doesn't mean keeping silent or not pointing out the truth of the things that are going on. That, to me, is part of the responsibility of keeping the heat down, is to make sure that we push back in a cool, calm-headed manner, as Donna said. I think it's important that we maintain that respectability. It's important that we maintain that pride in ourselves, so that their vitriol, their anger, and their need to essentially lie about this situation takes us away from our space, from us holding down what we have to hold down. So I ask everybody to remain cool and calm and know where you stand. At the same time, make sure that these items don't overrun you, and be willing to be a truth teller. Be willing to be a truth teller. So I want to, not that I'm going to shift gears, but I do want to talk about a couple things that happened this weekend that I think need to be noted. The Bears got throttled, if you're a Chicago person. And it speaks to something that I've been saying for a long time. People are criticizing Mayor Johnson for the Bears wanting to go to Arlington Heights. A new stadium is not going to fix what happened yesterday. Okay? So hold the line. A new stadium is not going to fix a team that structurally got some problems from an ownership standpoint. That ain't going to fix the Bears. Just FYI. So get off of Mayor Johnson about him losing the Bears to Arlington Heights. Now, had a chance as a result of our friendship and connection with the folks at the Studebaker Theater to go and see a performance that I think you guys should check out. It's called 44, and it's at the Studebaker Theater. Shout out to Jacob Harvey. It was phenomenal. A musical that I will tell you is one of the best things I've seen in a long time. Performance-wise, production-wise, it was just amazing. So if you get a chance to go, if you're in Chicago or you're going to be in Chicago, to get tickets to 44, which is playing at the Studebaker Theater, I highly recommend it. It talks about President Obama's 2 terms, and it was extremely well done, very informative, and funny as hell. Just truly good stuff. The other thing I had a chance to take part in this weekend, and it was an honor to be there. Shout out to Julie Mortensen, who's part of the Elk Grove, who's in Elk Grove Village and part of the group of folks, part of Indivisible. They put together a rally and a march on Saturday morning, which I was able to be a speaker at the event, and I was very proud to be there. So I want to give a shout out to Julie and all of her team for the hard work they're putting in to put together an event like this. And I also want to give a shout out to State Rep from the 56th District here in Illinois, Michelle Mussman, and Nicole Gross, the State Rep from Illinois 53. Kevin Morrison, Cook County Commissioner, who's been on our show before, and Brian Freeman, attorney at Freeman Law, who's an immigration attorney. They were talking about unmasking ICE agents, and it was a really good, solid, wonderful event. It was an honor to be there, and I appreciate them for inviting me. I appreciate them for inviting me out. Unmask ICE agents. That's the title of the event, and just a wonderful opportunity to speak to the audience and let them know that we've got their back in the supporting their efforts in their rallies and marches in the area. So thanks to the folks that were there, and thanks to Julie for inviting me out to the event. We're going to take a quick break. Number 773-763-9278. That is the Credo mobile phone and text line. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM in Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Thomas Edison invented the first light bulb, but however, did you guys know that Lewis Howard Latimer, a black man, improved upon it? That's right. Latimer's light bulb was made to last longer than Edison's. Latimer later sold that light bulb to the U.S. Electric Company in 1881, making light bulbs more accessible and affordable to the community. Here are some light bulb companies that support the Democratic Party. Philips Light Bulbs. Philips supports the Democratic Party very highly. In 2024, Philips donated over $400,000 to Democratic candidates in 2024. GE, General Electric. GE roughly is about 50-50 split with candidates they donate to. In 2024, 54% of GE's donations went to the Democratic Party, including $159,000 to Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. Hey, you guys want to hear a joke? How many Republicans does it take to change a light bulb? None. Donald Trump just says it's fixed and they all sit in the dark and applaud. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Of course, you know the Credo mobile phone and text line is 773-763-9278. And WCPT listeners now get a 25% off for 2 years at Credo Mobile with the code WCPT25. Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people and the planet. Visit credomobile.com. And if you haven't already, you can follow Heartland Signal on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. And, of course, at the Heartland Signal, one word. Be sure to check out heartlandsignal.com for daily updates, which we provide to you. You can also grab my podcast. The featured interviews and full episodes are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, and Amazon Music. You can search for Choose Views, click on the link, and there you go. You can share it with folks that ask about the show and ask about wanting to have more information about what we're having, what we air on this station. And I also want to give a shout out to the people who were at the rally on Saturday. The names, I don't remember everyone, but I remember the faces, and I just want to say thank you for two things. One, listening to our station, listening to this show, and also for supporting the efforts of any of the rallies that go on in the Chicagoland area. So thanks to all of you who were there. Devin, let's try to grab a couple calls as we get to the top of the hour. Let's go to William, Southwest side.
Yeah, good morning, Rich.
Hey.
Okay, in regard to Charlie Kirk's wife vowing to continue on his legacy and turning her spite and hatred toward other people, Emmett Till's mother was my fourth grade teacher. And this was in 1960, so it was 5 years after he died. And out of the blue one day, she was standing in front of the class, and she said, "I had a son, but he died." And that's all she ever said. Nothing else. And I didn't know anything about Emmett. Until I got to high school, I read something about him in the newspapers. And my senior year, I believe it was, I didn't make the connection until I was in the school library one day, my high school library, looking through a Black History book.
Okay.
And there was a picture of Emmett and with her in the story.
Wow.
And that's when I found out who she was. Wow. And she never, like I said, all those years, I never knew anything about him at that, like I said, I didn't know anything about him. And the only reason I used to go to the library was because I got so shy. I don't talk a lot. I might talk on the radio. But I got so shy I couldn't eat in the cafeteria anymore, so I go to the library or the study hall. So just that particular day, I saw it.
Yeah.
And I can remember other time, I can't say she did it all the time. I can remember one day she was sitting at a desk rubbing a pencil back and forth between the palm of her hands. And so I'm thinking now she was most likely reflecting upon Emmett. Mm. And the last time I saw her, when they dedicated 71st Street to Emmett Till Road, I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
On the south side.
Oh, absolutely.
I happened to be over there, and I stopped by there. So, like I said, I was in their class in 1960. And by this time, when they were dedicating the street, this was 1991, and she remembered me, and she said, "You were a chubby little dude." So
it made you smile, though, didn't it?
She never, I did lose a lot of weight. But she never, what I'm saying is she never sparked any hatred or tried to do anything in her lifetime. All she tried to do was get understanding and respect and love for other people and to let people know that we're all in this together and we don't need to have all this hatred and, you know, it's just horrible. That's all.
William, first of all, I commend you for bringing that to us, and thank you for that contribution, as well as the memory of that and the dignity that Miss Till showed. And kudos to you for just having the courage to speak to that. I was a library dude too, so I know that I love the library. I still love libraries to this day. But listen,
I can send you
go ahead.
I can send you our class picture. She's on there with us. I'll send that to you.
That'd be great. You can email it to me. You got the email is Richard at WCPT820.com. But listen, William, the other thing too I want to say before I let you go is, I struggled with talking about this morning. I'm not going to lie about it, but I also have my thoughts were, I want to talk about this from how do we control ourselves, our narrative, and our energy to make sure that we're still moving forward. And that's the reason that I'm taking some time this morning to talk about this and wanting to hear from you guys, because what I find is that there are voices like yours that say, hey, we have to hold on and hold the line and stay positive and disconnect from the attempt to disconnect us. Like Donna said earlier, we have to make sure that we don't let that happen. And I appreciate you for reminding us of that and the dignity of Miss Mamie Till. So thank you for that, William.
Okay, thank you. Take care. Have a good day.
You too. Bye now.
All right.
Let's see if we can grab another call before we hit the top of the hour, because I have a couple comments I want to make. Let's go to Dave out in San Francisco. Dave, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Well, hey, Richard. You were talking about what should the Democrats be doing about now. I can think of a real easy one. Every state, every region, every county has its own health laws, its own sheriff, things like that, structure.
Right.
Now, out in Texas, they got the Alligator Alley down in Florida, and they got a brand new one in Texas. 150,000 people all of a sudden dumped into a county with tents. I mean, can you imagine the sewage from 150,000 people a day?
Yeah,
right?
in a concentrated area like that.
No structure for it. So the Democrats should be testing out different ways of recapturing local government. Can some pack of pirates come in and kidnap 150,000 people a day and drag them into a county and then flood the creeks with sewage?
Yeah.
So there's like structure that goes, cavemen knew this. And so the idea of what do you do in the case of that? And actually changing out the money really helps, because there's a point where they're going to force us to use some crazy electronic gizmos. I was saying right now, take the penny and do it as a single item. You could fix a house, bam, job done, penny. Job done, do some computer work, accounting work, this, that, the other, job done. And it's just chunk, chunk, chunk. And we could beat out their crypto coins and their trillions. Those guys are coming up with fake numbers. They're making us dance to fake tunes. And we can come back with a real life and then ignore them. And that's actually how most of these things fall apart, because those guys starve. They need medical care, and what do they have? RFK to screw apart medical care.
Yeah.
Their armies fall apart from lack of medical care. So, there's in history, there's a lot of examples, and getting local control of government, I think, would be a good test for the Democrats.
It's a point that we've been making in terms of talking about what's happening local and why we've got to start on a local level, a state level, getting back state legislatures and the like. So thanks so much, Dave, for the call this morning. We're going to get to the top of the hour break. Appreciate you. Stay safe, and we'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye. All right, so not a shift of the narrative, but just a reminder of a few things that I was kind of bullet pointing this weekend, and this distraction that we all have in front of us. Let's just remember, just in case you're keeping track or you're staying mindful of a few things. South Korea is pulling billions in investments after the ICE raid on the Georgia Hyundai plant. Qatar is pulling $1.5 trillion of investment in the U.S. after Trump collaborated with Israel to bomb the Palestinian negotiators in Qatar, or Qatar, depending on how you pronounce it. Denmark rejected the U.S. Patriot missiles in favor of French and Italian-made SAMPT weapons systems that cost the United States $9.1 billion. China has purchased zero of U.S. soybeans this year, putting farmers across the country on the brink of bankruptcy, many of who voted for Trump. Last year, China purchased $13.2 billion worth of U.S. soybeans, 54% of all U.S. soybean exports. You hear me, MAGA, GOP? And Trump's 25% tariffs on auto parts and 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum cost Ford $800 million in the second quarter, wiping out all of their profits, which means that it also affected individuals and their compensation as it relates to how the company would look at their profits and then say, we're going to afford our employees with increases in compensation. That's Donald Trump for the maggots that are out there, the GOP that are out there that want to say he's this great president and he's doing great things for the country. He was right about one thing, that's for sure, and that he is responsible for the greatest economic turnaround in American history. It's just going in the wrong direction. So let's take a quick break. It's top of the hour. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
More fiber and laxatives, eh? Who are you? I'm future you. Future me? Constipation with belly pain still coming back? Our doctor figured it out. It's irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, and Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
With Amazon Business, smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Qatar is hosting a summit over Israel's attack in Doha that targeted Hamas leaders last week. The country has been a key mediator in the Israel-Hamas war talks. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in Israel for meetings with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli officials to express U.S. concern over the attack on Qatar and to discuss Israel's planned new offensive on Gaza City. And in Germany, the country's new leader Friedrich Merz's conservatives are ahead, but a far-right party has nearly tripled its showing compared with 5 years ago. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Friedrich Merz's party has finished first in municipal polls in Germany's most popular state, but the biggest winner in the first electoral test since Merz's government took power is the far-right Alternative for Germany party. AfD's swift rise has been fueled by discontent over large numbers of migrants, but also other issues, including a stagnant economy and the war in Ukraine. Its support has remained high despite Germany's domestic intelligence agency classifying it as a right-wing extremist organisation, a designation that it suspended after AfD launched a legal challenge. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
And authorities are still investigating the motive behind Charlie Kirk's assassination. Utah Governor Spencer Cox says 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is not being cooperative in custody. He also noted that family and friends described Robinson's politics as veering left in recent years. Robinson was arrested on suspicion of aggravated murder and other felony offenses. Prosecutors are drawing up formal charges that could be filed this week when he's expected to make his first court appearance. This is AP News. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports Bobby Hart, who co-wrote Last Train to Clarksville and other hits for the Monkees, has died at the age of 86.
Bobby Hart, who co-wrote the Monkees theme song and leaves behind a legacy of other hits, has died at 86 at his home in Los Angeles, according to his friend Glenn Ballantyne. He had been in poor health since breaking his hip last year. Hart also co-wrote the #1 hit, Last Train to Clarksville. Many of Hart's songs were covered by everyone, from Dean Martin, Little Lovely One, to the Sex Pistols, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, to Linda Ronstadt, Hurt So Bad. Hart was a minister's son born in Phoenix as Robert Luke Harshman. He leaves behind a wife and 2 sons from a previous marriage. I'm Julie Walker.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. Plentiful sunshine in store for today with warm high temperatures in the mid-80s. Then for tonight, mostly clear, a low of 62. Tuesday still well above average, a high of 84 degrees with lots of sunshine. Wednesday, ample amounts of sun will work up to a high of 86, and still no cool downs for your Thursday, high of 87 degrees. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 68.
James Hardy seeks Senior Applications Manager in Chicago, Illinois, to develop standard solutions to complex application problems. Salary $148,900 to $193,600. Benefits info, https://tinyurl.com/JH benefits. Email resume to hillary.johnston@jameshardy.com. That's hillary.johnston@jameshardy.com.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to the second hour of Choose Views on this Monday, September 15th, 2025. Shout out to one of my nieces. Today is her 51st birthday. So shout out to her. And some shout outs to you who've sent some very, very informative texts this morning. Jill in Evanston, 832 down in Texas, and a few others that have sent. Fred in Wicker Park, 630 here in Chicago metropolitan area. So thank you guys for your texts this morning and those who've called in as well. And most certainly the commentary from you guys. It's well appreciated, and we love it when you give us a shout and let us know what's on your mind. You guys know that we have been fortunate to have a really great sort of partnership with one of our regular contributors to the show, and that is our good friend and co-founder of PoliticusUSA and The Daily. And that would be none other than Sarah Jones. Good morning, Sarah, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard, and all your listeners.
Absolutely. Glad to have you with us this Monday morning. And I know that you've been extremely busy. I think I probably read through about 7 or 8 of your posts and articles in the last few days. So you've kept me busy and very, very informed. And as I tell everybody that listens, and whenever I have anything that I post on social media, make sure you guys are making your way over to PoliticusUSA and The Daily, and Google Sarah Jones and Jason Easley. That's Easley, Easley. Check them out. Their work is phenomenal, and it is it's easy reads. When I say easy reads, I'm not simplifying what they write, but they capture. It's not the word I'm looking for. They capture topics in a very easy to read way and digestible way to keep you informed. So please make your way over to Politicus USA News. Their Substack is phenomenal, and I think you guys will appreciate the work. So, Sarah.
Thank you so much for that. It's so hard in this time of, all of the way people digest news shifting so much. So we really appreciate your support and the support of other people who are interested in how we are covering the news, which is from an independent point of view that focuses on the people rather than the people who are in power. So that's our perspective.
And it's a great perspective. I got to tell you, I read a couple of articles in different venues, and obviously the elephant in the room, if you will, is this conversation around Charlie Kirk and his murder and his death, and then all the things that have happened as a result of that, from the comments that his wife made to the NFL having moments of silence for this individual. And the other part, too, that you've commented on is how, to your point a moment ago, how the quote-unquote traditional media is handling all this. And once again, sort of trying to sane wash or whitewash what he actually stood for. And
here's what's going on from my perspective on that, just to give you, because I'm sure people aren't aware of all this stuff happening behind the scenes. I spent, I think, like Friday and Saturday gathering all of this evidence to write a really big piece on the Daily Politicus, which is a separate Substack. That's kind of where we get into deeper dives on because a lot of the traditional media was conflating, we have violence on both sides, everyone needs to tone down the rhetoric. That's kind of their safe haven. They won't call out right-wing violence, which is the predominant problem in the country, and it has been for a long time. And that's been documented. Although that research was taken off the internet by the Trump administration, it is a fact. So what was happening was, and I'm sure you're aware, like Charlie Kirk, there was stuff came out about Nick Fuentes saying he wasn't conservative enough, and that Tyler Robinson, the shooter, had been a groyper, one of Nick Fuentes, like his army of people, and that might have been a motivation for this shooting. So I had all this research done from many different outlets about those facts. By the time I had written the whole thing, I was ready to publish it, and I was doing another, you do numerous fact checks to go back over, make sure everything is correct. Those sources were all gone. And they were all mainstream. They were all gone. When you search that now, the only thing that has come up for me is when I use my VPN and go to another country. Wow. And so I don't know. Maybe I'm just not having luck with my search the last couple, yesterday and this morning. But that, to me, it tells a story. I've never seen anything like this before, of just a complete retelling of the story. We saw this with January 6th, but there was a lot of pushback with the facts that we are not seeing this time. And I think some of that might be. I don't know. I suspect a lot of it is just appeasing the Trump administration. Yep. But I also think that a lot of people are really afraid of those people. And they don't want to, because Nick Fuentes put out a statement saying, I will denounce anyone who commits violence, because he knew everybody was looking at him. And then he also, of course, blamed the left with no evidence, because that's what they do. And no one is calling that out. Like, how come? Isn't that dangerous? And in the frame of all of that happening, Richard, one of the things I'm really concerned about that I don't see being talked about again in the media is that while elected officials have, and the media, they have the money and the means and the network to get security. Yeah. And right now, the White House has asked for $58 million for additional security for the executive branch and judicial security. And House members are asking for additional security because they're all being threatened.
Yeah.
This has been on the rise under Trump. But you know who doesn't have security? Is all the people in this country. Yep. The children who go to school, you, me, everyone listening. We don't have security. And we are dealing with the fallout of all of this. And it happens every day in little towns, in big cities. People have been intimidated. They've been harassed. They're afraid. And that is a problem. And it makes me really angry that somehow that's perfectly fine. And no one even thinks that it's going on. They don't even discuss it. What they're all concerned, like, remember all the bomb threats in the predominantly black cities in the 2024 voting? Like, why aren't we talking about that? Because that was a complete affront on the voting rights of people in those cities. And everybody was like, oh, it doesn't matter. It didn't change anything. It's like, you don't know how many people stayed home. Did you go and ask everyone in those cities if they turned around instead of voting that day? Yeah. This is absolutely a problem. And it's absolutely despicable to me that we are such an elitist society that we don't even think about what's happening to the actual people.
Yeah.
On the ground,
It's horrible to see. And this is part of the reason, part of my motivation, Sarah, that why, as much as I was very careful to start the show today the way in which I did with the two clips that I played, but I don't want to cower to the situation by not speaking about it. My good friend and co-host or host of the family meeting, which airs on Sundays here on WCPT, spoke very, very clear and unapologetic about the fact that these things that are happening are not happening at the hands of the people that are being blamed for it. And the way in which the media the mainstream media has provided comfort for the folks on the right to be able to continue to spew this garbage while they have protection, to your point, from the garbage that they're spewing is unacceptable. I mean, the particularly and even more just cringeworthy is what's coming from those on the right in terms of media and who they're having on their shows and what they're talking about. And but everyday people who are being affected by this garbage don't have the security and the safety and the protection that folks in the media on the right who are spewing this garbage do, let alone those who are elected officials. Maybe stop spewing the garbage, and then this added protection won't be needed. And that money, let's just be honest for a second, those millions of dollars that are being requested for protection for the administration, how about putting those dollars toward, it just goes to show the lie about this government, this administration, this regime. How about putting that money towards making sure that we protect the health of everyday citizens when it comes to food and to health care and wellness? See, that's what gets me very PO'd.
Yeah, no, the whole thing, that's what I thought about the money, too. And then to your other point about, the way that they're blaming people on the left, and they're blaming the black colleges were targeted immediately, even though there was no mention. It's like the fact that they were out there calling for war and calling for violence against people immediately with no facts. And the media doesn't call that out. There's no like, hey, stop. You are putting people in danger. And people are being threatened. That's not okay. And I am so tired of these conflations. And that is what I spent all this time getting into, because I took apart one of the media's like, oh, there's violence on both sides. So I took apart everything they cited and what they left out. And it's like, even the stuff you're citing was not left-wing violence.
Yeah.
There's one person on here who was left-wing.
Yeah.
The rest of it is actually like either people who were mentally ill but they had no political affiliation somehow get pushed over here to the left, even though they targeted somebody on the left. Do you see what it's like?
Yeah.
They don't want to face the reality. Now, whose rhetoric? And this is something that was in my piece that I still will find a way to publish. I will have to change it now because the sources are gone. Whose rhetoric has been a problem this entire time? They're out here lecturing the left about rhetoric. Who on the left that is a party leader has ever been out here calling for violence, to making fun of people who have been killed?
Yep.
Zero people. And yet this is what people on the right have been doing this entire time. Look at what they did to Paul Pelosi.
Yep.
That was despicable. I don't think I've ever been so sick in my life as watching all of that. Of course, they did it again with Melissa Hortman.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the media counts that as one killing of a Democrat. There were actually 2 Democrats and a dog killed, and then 2 other Democrats shot who are in critical condition. So that's 4 people and a dog. That's not one person.
Yeah.
2 people died. And it's just the way that everything is minimized. And we're not even, like, you see that people on the left don't sit here and talk about, they didn't talk about Melissa Hortman, and maybe they should have. I don't, the way that the right is lionizing Charlie Kirk and they're trying to make him seem like MLK, like they're doing like
and in the same moment that this is a person who they who said the things that he said about MLK. And so in this moment, keep MLK's name out of your respective mouths, because on one hand you're saying that he was like MLK, but do you realize that he said that MLK was an awful person? So, pick your point, Republicans and those in the media that are part of this GOP awful message machine. Pick where you're going to be. And that's what this is saying to me also, Sarah, is it's showing how, when we oftentimes hear this Dems in disarray, both elected officials and individuals, this just goes to show how in disarray and how confused and worried the right is, because they know that their brand is worse than spoiled milk at this point. And that's what one of the reasons why they're perpetuating these lies and this garbage, is because they know that their brand is actually a very stinky brand, in my observation. So.
Well, yeah, they don't want people to, like, that's exactly why don't they want to have this conversation about Fuentes and the video that he did about Charlie Kirk where they had his army with guns.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they want to talk about the way they speak about other people every single day? They want to sit out. Now, that's the other thing. Ezra Klein wrote an article where he apparently praised Charlie Kirk's form of disagreement.
Yeah, he was doing it the right way. I saw that, and
he was doing it the right way. I'm sorry, didn't he call for the killing of Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Is that how we disagree the right way? And the thing that really gets me about this, it's always, and I don't want to harp on, white men all the time, because it is not all white men, and I know that, and I really appreciate the fact that it isn't. And there's a lot of white men who are good allies, but there are so many, and it seems like once they're in a position of power and elitism, that it really crystallizes for them. Because I thought, wow, Ezra, like, it's easy for you to see disagreement rhetoric about taking rights away from other people and saying that the Civil Rights Act shouldn't have been passed and, women shouldn't vote, all of the things. Women shouldn't have the right to have life-saving medical care.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are just a disagreement for somebody who their rights aren't on the line. So I would rather not be lectured to by somebody who doesn't have any skin in the game, whose rights aren't on the line, about how this is just a form of disagreement.
Yeah. And to that end, well, let me just get this in real quickly. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chube. We are talking to Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA and the Daily Politicus. Sarah, listen, I am always trying to figure out how to make these statements without sounding like I'm harping. And I've been referred to by a number of people that listen to the show and follow the show as being a racist because I'm always talking about what white men are not doing and what white men are doing. But more often than not, in fact, I just got a text from someone that says to the other side, harp on white men. They got it coming. but it's not so much about, it's not without merit because, when we talk about these mass shootings, I mean, name me 5 black men, Muslim men, Asian men, Hispanic, Latino, Mexican men, or women of any community that are at the tip of the spear of these shootings. And it's like always white men, pretty much. Yeah. It's minuscule, but it needs to be stated this way. It's not that it doesn't exist that people of other communities have committed these acts, but what's resoundingly clear is that when the right says it's the left that's doing it, it's not the left or a subset of the left, i.e. a black man, a Muslim man, a Hispanic, Latino, Mexican man, and the list goes on. So that is patently false, and the mainstream media is not doing the job they should be doing to highlight that in a regular, ongoing way. Going back to something you said in a statement you made in kind of a question, I do think that they are fearful of what not only the administration will try to do to them, but also to what people who are of this right-wing craziness will try to do to them. I do believe that that's part of it. And that's one of the reasons why they've been so willing to whitewash and to sane-wash this situation. At the same time, not even giving any coverage to children that have been killed in schools during this same period of time. So,
that was heartbreaking. This is our society. It is sick. This is a sick society that we have allowed to be poisoned with this radical gun policy that is absolutely reprehensible. And on top of that, the right-wing extremism that has been dominating our politics and is a form of political terrorism, and it has been for a while. And I wish people would just have that discussion, because every time they won't have that discussion, what they're doing is they're enabling more of it. Yep. It isn't going to go away by ignoring it. That every parent knows that, and every adult should know that. And so why these people who are ostensibly adults, who are supposed to be in charge of our discussions about this via the media, why they don't discuss that? Is it because they're afraid? Is it because they're just looking out for number one and they just want to maintain their own power? Either way, it's irresponsible and it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And it is partly responsible for how we got here, because we could not be here without that excusing and that's something I remember getting into disagreements with people that I really like on the left and who I really respect, whose writing I really respect on the left. After the first Trump impeachment, because they said, oh, this is going to be the end of him. And I said, they were citing like what happened to Richard Nixon. I said, no, that's not what's going to happen, because there's a whole echo chamber of right-wing media now that's going to insulate him. And they are dictating the coverage. And we've seen that done in studies of the mainstream media. So you're not going to see him being held accountable for this. It's just not going to happen. And indeed, it didn't. So
yeah.
we are.
I was just sent an interesting graph and statistic as we kind of wrap up the number of mass shootings in the United States between 1982 and 2025 by shooters' gender. Wow, 149 were male, 4 were female, and 2 were male and female combined. It's not astonishing. It's just a fact that more people need to pay attention to. And we break that down further by culture, and it's not even more astonishing. It's just a stark reminder that it's not us, y'all. We're not the ones that are causing this hell. And what would be interesting to see even further is what's the then political sort of mission or mantra of the individuals that have committed these horrible crimes. But you know what, Sarah? On Thursday, on the morning following Charlie Kirk's murder and the murder of the children in the Colorado school, the thing that I said that's in common, no matter where we sit, is irrespective of who the shooters were, the one thing that's in common are guns. And I know there's people out there who want to say, well, the guns don't kill anybody. Okay. That's such a weak argument when people say that, it's not the guns. It is the guns, because how many times have we seen someone run through a school with machetes or other knives or hammers and whatnot and kill and destroy the bodies of children? How many times has someone...
that is such a dumb argument. I'm sorry. If you're out there and you're saying that, you have been radicalized by the NRA, and you need to get your brain washed, because that, to cleanse that stuff, because that is an absolutely ignorant thing to say. What killed these people? Ask any doctor who's examined those bodies, and they will tell you that it is the gun. Now, they have mental illness in every country, and they don't have these school shootings. So put it together, people. Let's not play dumb. And I know we're wrapping up, but really quickly, just from the NIJ that's been erased from the internet, I would like to read. Since 1990, far-right extremists have committed far more ideologically motivated homicides than far-left or radical Islamist extremists, including 227 events that took more than 520 lives. In the same period, far-left extremists committed 42 ideologically motivated attacks that took 78 lives. Wow. A recent threat assessment by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security concluded that domestic violent extremists are an acute threat and highlighted the probability that a COVID-19 pandemic-related stressors, longstanding ideological grievances related to immigration, and narratives surrounding electoral fraud will continue to serve as a justification for violent action.
Wow. Sarah, I know you're going to probably build something around that in terms of an article or a post, but that's not astonishing information. It's just powerful to know that that's out there, and it's a tool for people. I want people to be able to use the tool like that to push back when you hear someone say this is the left and this is the radical left and the Democrats. It's not, and it's also a good tool to have for people who, maybe in company of folks that don't get a lot of information, and what they do get is bias, and it's coming from the right wing media. So thank you for that. That's a powerful bit of information. As always, guys, Sarah and I don't have enough time to talk on our every other week's segment, but I appreciate you being with us this morning and sharing and shedding some light on what you're working on and some of the roadblocks and hurdles you've encountered in the last few days trying to put together some of your pieces. So thank you for that, Sarah.
Thanks for having me, Richard, so much. Have a wonderful week.
I will. We'll talk soon. Sarah Jones, guys, check her out. Check out her work. It's phenomenal. Thanks for being with us, Sarah. Have a great day today.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, we are going to take a break. The number is 773-763-9278. You are listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 here in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
enough, fellow timeshare owners. If you're a timeshare owner and you want out at all costs, you're done, frustrated, tired of wasting money, you don't use the darn thing. Get out now. Hire the best bulldog timeshare cancellation team in the business. Their in-house legal team, headed by a timeshare cancellation lawyer, can help you fight the biggest and baddest companies out there that sell timeshare. At some point, you were using your timeshare, but now you're not, and you're tired of wasting money. Before you go to the poorhouse, call right now and learn how you can stop the maintenance fees and put more money back in your pocket. Their services cost you a lot less than you think, and you'll save a lot of money over time. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline now. It's a free consultation.
800-296-0150. 800-296-0150. 800-296-0150. That's 800-296-0150.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moreylawoffice.com. That's More spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. Plentiful sunshine in store for today with warm high temperatures in the mid-80s. Then for tonight, mostly clear, a low of 62. Tuesday still well above average, a high of 84 degrees with lots of sunshine. Wednesday, ample amounts of sun will work up to a high of 86, and still no cool downs for your Thursday, high of 87 degrees. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 68.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Of course, our number here is 773-763-9278. Thanks to Sarah Jones for being with us this morning to keep us up to speed on what she's writing about and some of the great posts that she's got on Substack and social media. Again, we have always been proud of the fact that we have such amazing guests on our show and really smart people who know what's happening and write great books and all those wonderful things. And one of our other great distinguished professors of political science is with us this morning from the University of Chicago and the director of the Chicago Center on Democracy. And that would be the author, of course, professor and author of the latest book, The Backsliders, Why Leaders Undermine Their Own Democracies. And with us this morning is Professor Dr. Susan Stokes. Good morning, Professor Stokes, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
Absolutely. Well, it's a well-earned introduction. You definitely, as the phrase goes, have been a leader in this space and such a great author and professor in this area of political science and certainly when it comes to talking about democracy. I know that with your latest writing, The Backsliders, that you've really touched on a topic that a lot of people maybe don't think about. They may ask the question, but they really don't have they don't have content to help them understand how we have moved from sort of global democracy being a positive thing to now democracy sliding away from so much of our conversations and how we actually lead and run our lives. Talk to us a little bit about, your work, and talk to us a little bit about the Backsliders.
Well, you're absolutely right that it's a kind of a surprising and rapid set of developments. People will be very aware that in our country, in the United States, there's been a big shift in our politics. What we've seen in the last few years is kind of centralization of power in the executive and the presidency, undermining independence of the press, pressure on the courts, Congress becoming much less of an independent actor, attacks on other kinds of organizations, civil society organizations, universities. And that's not just the United States. That's been happening in about 24 countries around the world, in several other world regions as well. So people probably have heard something about what's happened in Hungary, maybe in Poland a few years ago. There was a leader who was sort of a backsliding leader in Mexico recently. And so it really is a broad phenomenon. And what my research has indicated is that one of the key factors that makes a country more at risk of experiencing what we call democratic backsliding or democratic erosion is rising income inequality. So as incomes in many countries around the world have become more unequal in the period of globalization and opening markets and so on, there have been sort of increasing, sense of loss of opportunities and one's kids not likely to do as well as oneself. And, all kinds of grievances that political leaders can then take advantage of, polarize around, and use that unhappiness and sort of sense of cynicism about institutions to kind of build their own power.
It's interesting to that point, Professor, that in fact many of those leaders are oftentimes the benefactors of the inequality because of not just in the United States, but throughout the world. And you mentioned these 12 or so other countries. They are the benefactors of the inequality by virtue of the numbers of businesses and corporations and entities that are funding their political message. So it's kind of a weird double-edged sword, if I'm making any sense.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. And I think you see that in the U.S. maybe even more acutely than in other places. So we have what I call a kind of ersatz populist in the current president, who, builds on that sense of sort of, I'm with the people, the elites are against you. But in fact, public policy-wise, the policies have been very much in favor of very, very affluent people and corporations. In some countries, you see the leaders kind of splitting that difference a little differently. So, for example, in India under Narendra Modi, similar kind of style of politics. And Modi also, his political party also began as a very elitist, very business-oriented party. But he has altered his governing strategy so that it also includes some very, significant social spending, construction of infrastructure that's helpful to lower income Indians. So there's kind of a mix of what I call right-wing ethno-nationalism and a more populist kind of style of economic policymaking. Our country, not so much.
Yeah, and it seems as though we are maybe the leader, and this is not an area we want to be a leader in, and that is furthering the inequality while speaking to it as something that they, frankly, not to be partisan, because I know that your work it tries to be as nonpartisan as possible, but there is one entity or group of people or social movement or political movement that is pushing the narrative of separating more and more people and accelerating that by using financial means to do it, and then being the benefactors, further benefactors of that separation. Let me ask you this question: What do you think, or what has your research shown you of the impact of media, U.S. media, maybe even global media, in this backsliding, or in this, maybe more specifically to words you use, the erosion? What do you feel the media's role has been in this space?
Well, there's really sort of two sides to the answer to that question. On the one hand, we look at the independent media in the United States and in many other countries. They're really doing a heroic job in trying to report on what's happening and stay focused on facts in a sea of misinformation. On the other hand, we all know that there's a structure of information, the rise of social media, the rise of much more partisan kind of outlets means that there's been, the common citizens are really awash in information, some of which can be trusted, some of which can, and it's really hard to pick those things apart. So, the social media and highly partisan media has contributed to an atmosphere of intense partisanship, partisan polarization in the public. And it's been shown that partisan polarization, is a big contributor to keeping backsliding leaders in power, because even though some of their followers might say to themselves, "Hey, I'm not so keen on this guy attacking the press," or "It sounds like he's using a violent rhetoric," or what have you, if that person thinks that it's the end of the world with the other party coming to power, then they're going to be more tolerant of undemocratic behavior on their own side.
So in the conversation about income inequality or the rising income inequality and this polarization that's built into that, how in your you okay? You're still okay?
Yes.
Still with this. All right. How does racism and sexism play, or what roles do you see from your research play into this as it relates to the erosion of democracies?
Well, it plays an important role. One of the major sort of types of backsliding leader is what I call a right-wing ethno-nationalist, and those are leaders who, more in the sort of global north, who use antagonism against minorities, be it racial minorities, religious minorities, ethnic, sexual minorities, sometimes women too, to kind of distract people from the kind of class politics that in a sense has given rise to their power. So you come to power in part because people are angry about losing ground economically, and then if you don't want to engage in real, sort of social spending and reducing those economic inequalities, blame minorities, blame immigrants, blame affirmative action, that's what's taking things away from you. And, it's hard for people to sometimes see the insincerity or the inaccuracy in those kinds of arguments. So very direct role, and we see that certainly in the United States.
The word sliding or backsliding seems to give the indication, and I'm not being critical, I'm just curious about the wording, that it sort of happened incidentally, accidentally, not by design or purpose. But when I look at how the media, the mainstream media, particularly in the United States, and some of the social structures as it relates to racism and sexism and misogyny are in place, they're not happenstance. It does seem to be more a re-energizing of systemic design to these areas of democratic erosion, not just it sort of happened by chance. There seems to be a design, a cause in this methodology. What are your thoughts there?
No, you're absolutely right. It's definitely by design. I mean, there are some factors that are kind of built into the structure of things that can make people more or less tolerant of backsliding, but these are ambitious political leaders who want to hold on to power, sometimes maybe just for the gratification, the personal gratification, the need to be powerful. Sometimes they, have strong ideological beliefs and think they're the only ones who can get the country on the right path. And of course, that's very undemocratic, because if you think you're the only one who can keep the country on the right path, and elections come along and you lose, then you come up with reasons not to step aside. But it's very much an intentional kind of strategy. In fact, backsliding leaders learn from each other. They pick up sort of strategic points. They're inspired by each other. Viktor Orban in Hungary was one of the early people who engaged in this kind of erosion of democracy or backsliding, and he undertook a national gerrymander, redistricting of his whole country to make it more likely that he would be reelected, he would win office again, even if his party didn't do as well in elections. And, lo and behold, we have some efforts to gerrymander on kind of a national scale. Of course, gerrymandering is in our DNA as a country, unfortunately, but to go in that direction. I don't know if you recall after the meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska, Trump said, "Hey, my friend Vladimir gave me this great idea of getting rid of mail-in voting." He said that the reason that we're not getting fair elections in our country is that we need to do away with mail-in voting. So they model on each other, they share with each other, and it's very intentional for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's.
Let me just add that.
Go ahead.
In our own country, I mean, the word backsliding, it might give the impression that things were perfect and that we've slipped away from that. And for sure, our own country, democracy has all kinds of, even at its best, at our best, there are all kinds of things that we need to work on to improve. Democracy doesn't work as well for some people as for others. So we're not backsliding away from some paradise. We're backsliding away from a real and sometimes ugly democratic system. But the concern is that you can slip away into a much more authoritarian, autocratic kind of system.
Yeah, I without a doubt agree. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM in Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we're speaking with Professor Susan Stokes, author of the recent book, The Backsliders. So, Professor Stokes, I'm curious about this. And when I hear backsliding and backsliders and erosion and things of that nature, I always think about people. And I would ask you this in your observation. Are people not paying enough attention? And that's not meant to be a rhetorical question. I do want to get your thoughts on that. Do people not care? Are people what do you see in that space of the attention of citizenries across the globe, but say specifically here in the United States when it comes to this moving of democracy?
It's a wonderful question. I think what we see from the research is that there are a lot of people who pay a lot of attention and care a good deal about the quality of politics and the nature of their democratic institutions and want to make them democratic and responsive and to work better for them. Then, of course, there are a lot of people who are very busy with their own lives and aren't engaged in politics and aren't going to notice so much unless something really goes wrong. And I think what we've seen in the U.S. is that whatever happens in Washington, whatever's going on in the kind of inner workings in politics or in the Congress, a lot of people are going to be paying most attention to their own pocketbooks, to their own financial concerns, to making their families comfortable and survive, and that's perfectly understandable. So some messages get out to a lot of people paying a lot of attention, and then there are people who the message that they're going to feel is, gee, inflation, the prices are really going up, and my salary's not going up, and so those people are going to be less concerned until they notice something really going crazy. But I can say that what scholars have, I think, found pretty clearly is the erosion of democracy around the world is not because people have all of a sudden decided that we don't care about democracy. It really has much more to do with a set of frustrations, partisan polarization, and maybe misleading information that they can pick up in all kinds of places that confuses them about what's going on with their political systems.
So you, in the book, you use in one of the chapters that I found really interesting, as the entire book is phenomenal. So you guys have got to grab it and read it. Put it in your library of books to read. But one of the areas that you talk about, which I found really interesting, is entitled Polarization and Trash Talk. And take this with all the love it's meant, Professor. I was like, she actually put that as a part of the research in the book, but it's fascinating how so one of our favorites, our best, our University of Chicago professors is dropping in trash talking in her book, but it really does highlight the impact that it's having in this conversation around the sliding and the erosion of democracy. Speak to that a little bit.
Okay, well, I'm a Chicagoan, so of course I'm a sports fan, so words like trash talk come to mind. It's what I mean by trash-talking democracy is actually it's a little bit of a misnomer because the politicians don't so much say bad things about democracy as a system of government. They criticize individual institutions. So they might say the courts don't work properly, the judges are all partisans or they're all corrupt, especially when the courts make decisions that go against them. They say the press, the enemy of the people, captured by corporations. So it's really a strategy to try to get people to not care as much. It goes back to the last question you asked, to get people to not care so much when their democratic institutions are under attack. So we did quite a bit of research in Mexico on this topic, and the previous Mexican government was really trying very hard to undermine the independence and power of their national election administration bodies, presumably so that they could maybe control the outcome of elections if things went wrong. And so how did they tried to take legislation to the Congress to weaken that body. The Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. So then they started going after both the court and the election body, and it was, it could get down and dirty. I mean, they were accusing the head of the election administration body of making too much money. He was only interested in going out to dinner and having nice wine and wasting his money on plastic surgery. I mean, it got very personal. But it's a serious strategy to try to get people to say, well, why does it matter if they start stacking the court, or if they impose early retirement on judges, or they kick out the independent members or the opposition members of independent institutions? Those institutions didn't work anyway. They were corrupt anyway. Mm-hmm. So that's really what I mean by trash talking democracy.
Well,
but a smart editor at the press said, you can't have that as the title of the book. That was my original idea, was that would be the title of the book. And she said, no, not serious, no.
Okay, well, I'm in full support of helping you in not the second book, you've written many, but in the next, the sequel to this being titled something along those lines. As a title of the title of one of your chapters being the title of one of the next books that you work on, because that one caught me. I was like, this is a great chapter. So I appreciate you kind of highlighting what you're meaning in that and how you built it into the writing of the book. And speaking of that, Professor Stokes, as we kind of wrap up, just a broad question, two questions that I want to ask you before we wrap up. What drove you to write the book? What was on your mind when you said, you know what, now's the time for this particular topic?
Well, I started my career when there was a big shift toward democracy around the world. I work, my area of expertise in the world is Latin America, and it was a very exciting time in the 1980s, 1990s when very brutal dictatorships in South America and Central America were falling, and they were being replaced by elected governments, which, of course, inevitably they had all kinds of problems. They weren't perfect, but, you saw like the Pinochet regime in Chile being basically voted out of office in a referendum. You saw a military regime in Argentina fall in the midst of a failed war. And that was a very exciting time. And then, of course, there were big changes in Eastern Central Europe and the Soviet Union. So there was kind of a sense of optimism. And I guess I personally, feeling like the book ending my career with this other kind of change of regime is something I just don't want to see. And I have children and grandchildren. I don't want them growing up in a more authoritarian world. For one thing, we do know that this is another area of political science that's well studied. Authoritarian countries go to war more than democracies do. Democracies do go to war, we see that, but they're less likely to go to war, especially against each other. So a world that has more authoritarian regimes and fewer democracies is going to be a more bellicose world. It's going to be a world where there's more international armed conflict, and no one wants to see that.
Yeah, it makes everybody's life less certain and much more dangerous. And I think that a willingness to fight for those understanding the word of bellicose. This sort of national and international aggression is not needed. And I've been talking about this for days now since this murder of Charlie Kirk, that we have to dial down this aggression. We have to dial down this heat and this temperature in this moment, because that's another thing that will unfortunately kind of accelerate the erosion that you so well write in your book. Professor, thank you for being with us this morning. There's so much more to talk about with not just the book, but the entire conversation around democracy. And I would love to have you back again to speak more at length about that, if you'd be willing to come back and be with us and spend a little bit more time with our audience all over the country that wants to hear more information in this space. Does that sound like a plan?
Absolutely, Richard. I'd be delighted anytime.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks for being with us this morning. How real quickly can folks find you? How can folks find their way toward getting a copy of the book?
Well, my website is susan-stokes.com, and that has links to this book, other books, articles, the activities of the Chicago Center on Democracy, which is a wonderful center that looks at democracy both from a sort of scholarly and from a public civic education perspective.
Fantastic. Well, listen, be safe today. Thank you for being with us. Thanks for your information and your incredible grasp in this area of democracy. And we look forward to having you back again soon. Sound good?
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Great to have Professor Susan Stokes with us. She is one of the leading voices in the conversation around democracy. And as she said, you can find her more information on her and her writings at her website. She is a Blake Distinguished Service Professor of Political Science at the University of Chicago and the director of the Chicago Center on Democracy. So if you want to fill your brain with some additional information on this space, you might want to check out her work. Thanks to Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA and The Daily for being with us this morning and helping us get a better sense on what the media is not doing and where we need to keep our focus. And thanks to all you guys as callers this morning who had a chance to kind of wake up and make that dial and being with us. So we appreciate that as always. Looking forward to being with you tomorrow. But right now, guys, take a deep breath and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
The Sports Cubicle. Commissioner of the American Association of Professional Baseball, Joshua Schaub.
So our players are not playing to develop to make it to the major leagues. They play for the name on the front of their jersey. They play for each other and they play to win. So the style of baseball is completely different. They're literally trying to get guys out. They're literally trying to move runners over. They're trying to win the game. So I just want to note that difference as well.
The Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on WCPT.
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar. Thursday, September 18th at 11:30 a.m. The Chicago